here gathering here in the framework of the IPR4SC project, which deals with a very interesting topic of helping European SMEs and European innovators grab the opportunity to learn and utilize the tools in the framework of intellectual property rights, to utilize them for meaningful innovation, like an added value in the digitalization and in the circular economy transitions. So here today, although we've done a lot of activities concerning the learning curve, right, for the students, for a lot of stakeholders, but here today with this webinar, we want to come to one of our roots and speak about the relevance of the IP insights for SMEs and the startups, right? And for that reason, here today we have three speakers, which will be discussing three and very interesting topics for today. So the first we have Vitka Orlic-Zrnec from Slovenia, who is gonna give us some insights in terms of the functionality and genuinely the location where the startups and SMEs can find help, and a location where can they get the relevant tools and get the relevant help to learn to get the first steps in their IPR journey. So she's going to be talking with us about the technology transfer offices and their availability for the startups. Then we'll have Luka Boggio speaking about the relevance of circularity while becoming or starting the journey of entrepreneur with startups or SMEs, whether you are already an entrepreneur. And finally, we have our good colleague from Greece, Aris, who is going to be giving us insights in the relevance of blockchain in the world of intellectual property. So without me taking too much of your time, Vitka, I give the floor to you. Maybe you could start the presentation.
Yes, thank you very much. Good afternoon to everyone. Can you hear me well? Okay.
Yes.
So today I will present you our office and the tasks we do in the field of intellectual property rights. I will also present you one of our services and patent databases. So I will share my screen with my presentation. You see the presentation?
Yes, everything is okay.
Okay, thank you. So firstly, I would like to present Slovenia Intellectual Property Office and our main tasks. Of course, the very important task is granting and registration of industrial property rights. We also issue authorizations to collective management organizations, and we also do the supervision of these organizations. We're giving information services. We also do presentations for the public for the awareness of the importance of intellectual property. Also, we're representing the Republic of Slovenia in European Union and other international intellectual property organizations. We're preparing legal regulations, and of course, we're keeping the registers of industrial property rights, and we're also every month we're issuing the industrial property bulletin. This is our publication. But just for the basics, intellectual property rights divide to three main topics: copyright, industrial property, and other IP forms. Today, we will mainly focus on patents, but just for the basics. So patents protect inventions, trademark protects science, and industrial design protects design, so the look of some product. All intellectual property rights are exclusive. They are territorially limited, so they only protect, for example, an invention in the country where the patent is granted. And intellectual property rights are generally time limited. Patents, for example, only last for 20 years. And of course, they can be economically important for the holder and the state. Activities of our office for companies include customer service, our phone number, so companies and individuals can call us or write us an email. We also organize conferences, seminars, lectures. We attend business fairs. We're organizing exhibitions. We're producing promotional materials and video tutorials. And we're also doing IP, intellectual property pre-diagnosis service. It's called Prva I. It comes from Prva informacija. That is in English, first information on intellectual property for the small and medium enterprises. So it is aimed at innovative SMEs with interesting products, but they have very little or no experience in the field of IP. It's free of charge. And an SME only has to write us an email or call us. And two of our experts from our office come to the company, or people from company can come to our office. And we offer better knowledge of intellectual property and its management, but only on some basic level or awareness level. So it's not on the concrete cases. For that are patent attorneys, but like I said, only the basics. And so how can an SME start to work or recognize the intellectual property in their company? Now I will try to explain some basics of patent. So patent protect invention, and invention can be any technical solution of a certain technical problem which hasn't been presented or implemented yet. So that means it can be something completely new. It can be something that is just an upgrade of another invention, or it can be an alternative to an invention. But for an invention to get a patent, it should fulfill three criteria. That is novelty. That means that anywhere in the world, orally, written, or by use, cannot be known, this invention. It has to include inventive step. That means the invention should not be obvious to a person skilled in the art, and an invention should be industrial applicable. So it must be capable of being used in an industry. So all three criteria must an invention fulfill, that a person, an applicant, gets a patent. So patent is private nature, it's territory limited, and time limited. Like I said, 20 years from the filing date. There are some exceptions from patent protection. For example, discoveries, theories, mathematical methods, also rules of games and computer programs, and presentation of information. For example, computer programs in some other patent systems, for example, in United States, can be protected by a patent. Exemption of patent protection is also inventions that are contrary to public order or morality, and inventions of surgical or diagnostical methods. So it means treatment or healing a person, but the process of treating a person is not patentable, but a product can be patentable. So, for example, a medicine can be patented. So obtaining a patent is maybe a little bit complicated, but one option is that one gets a national patent. So in Slovenia, it files a person files a patent application in Slovenia and gets a patent granted in Slovenia. Or it can go in any other country. Next, possibility is a person can obtain a European patent. That means that the process, so the granting of patent is held by European Patent Office, and once it is I'm sorry, I'm not so good in English, but once the patent is granted, the proprietor can decide that he can go with this European patent to every country, a state that is a member of European Patent Organization. So he just gets a patent from European Patent Office, and then in every country he has to validate its patent. This is one way, or another way is also once a European patent is granted, a proprietor can register unitary effect. That means that this European patent will start to be valid in 18 member states that are members of this system of members of unitary patent system. And the third option is international application, and that application is filed directly at the World Intellectual Property Organization. It's in Geneva, and from there on, an applicant can go to more than 150 states in the world and obtain a patent. So these are three ways of obtaining a patent. Like I said, one of the criteria that an invention must fulfill is novelty. And before filing, it's very good that a person does a search in databases. Here is an example of a database. It's called EACEA. The European Patent Office is taking care of this database. It has more than 150 million patent documents. And I can now I will stop sharing my presentation and I will open this database. Do you see my page? Okay. Okay. Yeah, so you can go to any search engine and just type EACEA, and the first result is this database. So, for example, I will just type in something I have already prepared, but with advanced search. For example, I will put in one Slovenian company, for example, Elan, and I will group it with the DOO. And then I will just try to search, for example, if they have some EP, that means European patent. and I see that they have something, for example, this collapsible ski. And on this third side of the page, you can see all this bibliographic data. So who is the applicant, inventor, and also it's searchable on in the description, or for example, claims, patent claims. This is the most important part of the patent application. So what are they protecting exactly? Here are also the drawings. So I will now stop sharing this one and go back to my presentation. Okay. This is also one database. It's called Patent Scope. It's from World Intellectual Property Office, but it has a little less patent documents, 120 million documents. And also for somebody who would like to search in Slovenia. So what is protected in Slovenia? It's our register. So it's official register. I will also show you this one, where it is. Okay, so you type in our office. So now it's in Slovenian language. Do you see it?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Okay, so you just have to go to our web page, and then it's a button, yellow button, databases of our office, but it's also in English. So for example, patents. Okay, so here it's also written because I prepared before. For example, if we know the title, we can, for example, collapsible skis, we can use only COL and then put this asterisk. So wildcards are usable, and ski and owner is Elan. And we can find, for example, Elan's patents. But this is, like I said, this is our official register. So everything that is here, patents that are here, that means that are already granted and that invention is protected in Slovenia. Okay. So patent databases are very useful, for example, for following specific technical fields. So we can see if the field is developing or stagnating. We can use patent databases for planning of development. So is it worthwhile to invest in a specific invention or not? We can get their new ideas. We can see what are the existing solutions and what are their shortcomings. We can promote our solutions, and it can also be a great study material. I have to mention these new agreements that our office made with other offices, because in Slovenia, we don't do the substantial examination, so we don't do the search, and we don't check these three criteria, so novelty, inventive step, and industrial applicability. But we made some bilateral agreements with the European Patent Office, with Hungarian, Romanian, Austrian, Danish, and Visegrad Patent Institutes, so that an applicant or a client can just, excuse me, just a second. can ask from our office that we transmit their just a second. I'm sorry. There's something in my throat. Okay, so applicant can ask our office that we transmit an application or a description of an invention to one of these offices that I mentioned, and they make this substantial examination. The differences are in time and costs of these services. So it's a different cost with the European Patent Office or at Hungarian. And this, I wrote it in Slovenia. It's called, and it's on our webpage by this name. So if somebody will wanted to look it up, that's why I wrote it in Slovenia. I don't know why it's not going the next page.
Can you try clicking on it?
Okay, yes. So an applicant has to send us the description of this invention in English. He has to pay this amount. Every office has a different price, but the patent granting process that is already in our office, for example, that it is someone that already filed an application, patent application at our office, then the results of the search will be independently of our process. So this is really in a short time, maybe just the basics, but this is our contact. Here are our contacts, telephone and web page. So if you have any questions, you can call us or write us.
Thank you so much. Just a brief question, because I'm aware that you don't have time to stay with us until the Q&A session genuinely. So just to make it more wider, can you tell us whether, I mean, because we're in an international project, right? So what you said and the example you gave us were mostly interesting for the Slovenian SMEs, but is it the same? So is it possible for SMEs, entrepreneurs, maybe those who wish to become entrepreneurs yet with the idea, right, with some innovative idea that still wants to patent it and use it as the basics of their enterprise. So is it the same? Is it kind of unified? What is similar in other countries, and what of those practices are transmittable, like, and usable in other countries, regardless of where Slovenian TTO or Hungarian, Romanian, Norwegian, and etc. etc.
No, it's all the same. Like I said, this novelty, inventive step, and industrial applicability, yes, are the same. It's because the basics is Paris Convention it's for industrial property. But for example, our law for industrial property is based on EPC, that is European Patent Convention.
No, I understand that. I mean, of course, that is regulation that is unified. I meant how to put it, the services that any TTO is obliged or can give it, or is the standard package of a TTO package of services that they can give to an enterprise. So, also maybe from your experience, what an entrepreneur can expect coming to a TTO, what kind of basic help he can get, and maybe speak a bit of what can be different.
No, because I only represented our office information services. We're not a TTO. We're industrial property office. So just, but we're offering these information services. Yes, but it's also, like I said, this first information on industrial property is based on one project from European Patent Office. And most of the countries, I heard, I don't know, in most of the states that are also members of these European patent organizations, like you saw this, map, they have 39 members, so a lot. Also, they also have one of these products, so like IP pre-diagnosis. I know that, I don't know, Austria has it, Hungary, Poland. Yes, most of them, they have this project. We call it PRVI, first information. Maybe in other offices in other countries they call it some other way, but mostly I think they have it, and it's on the same basis, so it's free of charge. I don't know, 2 or 3 experts from the office come to the company, and they can offer this, like I said, basic information about intellectual property, not just patents, but also copyright, trademarks, and so on.
Oh, thank you so much for your answer. Sorry, I said TTO is just stuck in my head, given that we had them as target groups in our project. Yes, I meant intellectual property office. Sorry, the office thing that just struck me. Thank you so much for your presentation, and I would like to invite for now, if you could just stop sharing so that we.
Yes, thank you. Okay.
Thank you so much for your presentation, and you welcome you back whenever you have another set of interesting information for us. But
Okay.
now I would like to invite Professor Luca Boggio with his interesting speech about the circularity and the role of circular well, models, planning, and production for the SMEs. Professor Boggio, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here. Good evening, everybody.
Hello, hello.
Thank you for your fantastic presentation of myself. You're so kind. No, I hope that my presentation will be so interesting about circularity for startups. Can I start?
Yes, right away. The floor is yours.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Okay. Yes, because at 6 o'clock I have another video call, and so I need to begin. I try to share my video because I have a short presentation. Hoping you can.
Yes, yes, we can see. Yes.
Okay. Perfect. The title of my presentation, the title given to my presentation is Vital Role of Circularity in Startups. But from my point of view, it's fundamental to understand the legal framework, and I want to look at the European legal framework, the very general legal framework governing the startups, and and in particular, the relationship between startups, innovation, IPs in the light of circularity. Okay. Can you see the second slide?
Yes, it moves okay.
Okay. Because sometimes I'm not sure that I'm so able to make it working. Okay. The European Union is focusing on startups, and so after 2020, many programs had been promoted by the European Commission. And in particular, in 2020, the Commission launched the EU Startup Nation Standard to mobilize EU member states to implement the best policies to promote the development of startups. Many are the challenges that startups can meet during their lives. But the real problematic part of the life of the startups is the first period of implementation of the startup project. After the break-even, when a startup reaches the break-even and then begin a little bit more mature, and so it is not young but an adult company, an adult firm, the challenges are important, but not so strong, so hard to be resolved by the promoter of the startup. The initiative of the European Union are addressed at making easier the launch of the startups, in particular when startups are cross-border startups. From the point of view of the European Union, it's fundamental to avoid the limitation for people in crossing the European borders to go in other countries to cooperate with new firms, new projects. And so for this, also because this the opportunity is an opportunity in implementing the freedom of circulation of the people across the European borders. It's fundamental that startups can grant to the employers, so to the researchers and the other participants in the business activities of the startups, the economic and personal conditions to participate in the running of the business, conditions particularly attractive. And so from this point of view, policies giving, for example, stock options, as well as tax benefits and so on, are useful to foster, to promote the participation of people and the movement of the people across the European border to participate in the startups businesses. It's fundamental to make easier to finance to the startups, and in particular to finance the scaling up by the startups during the first years of running their business. From this point of view, in this framework, many factors have to be considered, should be considered. I try to identify some of them, and between them, it's the first one is one of the main characteristics of startups. So the dynamic approach to the market, to the business, to the new business, to the project, and a continuous evolution of the business in a market, normally in growing markets. Obviously, startups are often in the technological sector, but startups are not just in the technological sector, are in the food sector, as well in fashion, as well in other sectors of our economies. But normally, startups start a business and develop their growing business in sectors particularly active, particularly in not mature. The initial period of life of startups is very problematic because a growing business, a starting business and a growing business is weak in principle, because it's during the first period of life of the startups, people organizing the activities of the startups have to make a lot of adjustments to ensure that startups reach their goals during their lives. And normally they have to be very flexible from the point of view of the organizations, of their organizations. This is something fundamental, very important for startup, but is also a reason of weakness of the startups, because they need time to consolidate their organization, not just the business results. During this period, they have financial need not yet stabilized, and they have to invest in protection of the innovations. Startups normally are based on innovation, but as we discussed many times, innovation should be protected by the help of the laws. But for example, for patent, it's costly, it's complex, because there are complex procedures to be performed to reach the protection by the laws. So this period, the first year, the first 2, 3, 4 years are really a very, very complex period for startups. Summarizing, 2 are the main needs of startups: a good funding and a good legal protection. So I need money to invest, and I need something protecting my investments. These are the 2 fundamental needs. From this point of view, I ask myself, which are the main policy tools that startup needs to be supported by legislators, by government, by the system, and in general. And from this point of view, they need help to get money to invest. And so financial laws are important to ensure the startup contribution by private or public funds. Secondly, incentive of innovation should be promoted and protected by IP laws, so patent, trademarks protection, and so on. But also company laws are important to foster the growth of the startups, because company laws make available to the startuppers legal schemes, legal vehicles to able to include the startup project and to protect startup project against the risks coming from competitors, coming from creditors, coming from other third parties. Then another group of rules, important, fundamental for the growth of the startups, are the laws regulating taxation, labor rules, and so on. And from this point, considering this legal framework, many of the European legislation during the last 15 years innovate the legal panorama, introducing set of rules incentivizing innovation, incentivizing financing of startups, incentivizing the new employments by the startups. But two questions are fundamental. The first one, in the light of the circular economy and in the light of circularity helping startups. The first one is what is the relationship between IP, startup development, and circular economy? And the second one is how can startups be helped by the laws to implement and improve circular business models? Now I want to very, very synthetically answer to the first one, and basically two elements, two factors I can stress on. IP laws can ensure to startup the possibility of using protected knowledge, well-known trademarks, private databases, and other innovation tools. So if people promoting a startup need to use innovating process, need to use well-known science to foster, to promote their business, they need protection by the laws of these elements. If they are not owner, like frequently is, of these IPs, the license of these IPs can ensure the benefits to the startups when they are not owner of these IPs. If they have not the funds, for example, to invest in research and development of innovation, they can lease the innovation from other parties. So in the light of circularity, the use of license could be a good means to help others, startups, to foster their initiative. And more specifically, the means to help the implementation and the improvement of circular business model by startups can be helped by the sharing of the IPs. So from this point of view of the circularity, when there is a group of firms working in a circle, and one of them is a startup, suitable way to make available for the startup, the startup unit of the circle, make available innovation, the right on innovations, for example, on our proceedings, on our machinery, on our database, on our software, is to sign a good way is to sign a TT contract, so a transfer of technology contract, or a JV, so a joint venture, sharing inside the joint venture, in particular if the joint venture is a corporate joint venture, the IPs, or the use of a consortium, or the use of other legal schemes based on cooperation. These are legal schemes useful for the sharing of intellectual property within a group of entities working to implement a circular economy business model. The last sub-question in this panorama is: does circular business model foster IPR sharing, even regardless of the legislative, regardless to the legislative support? I answer yes. because I think that all the parties of the circle are interested in supporting the other unit of the circle. So if a startup is part of a circle of firms operating together, the interest of the owner of the IPs is to give a license to the startup to improve its growing business and to support the growth of the startup. So all the participants have in a circular business model have interest in the that the other participants succeed. This is really the fundamental factor. The risk in when firms work in a circle and one of them is a startup, so a weaker participant, a weaker unit of the circle, the risk is that in case of crisis of the startup, the risk is the domino effect. So that the problems, the issue experienced by the startup can be transferred also to other partners in the circle. This is the risk. So the common project funding the circle should be a project, is a project that is able to transfer the positive factor, and so to share the benefit, but is also a risk of sharing the issue experienced by one of the unit. If one of them is a weak unit because it's a startup, the risk for everybody is higher. Just 2-3 minutes to conclude. I would like to point your attention on a specific experience of a group of firms in Italy, because I think that it's an interesting experience of sharing the research and development activities. They decided to reduce the risks that all the participants in the project have in case of autonomous development, autonomous running of the research and development activities. They decided to create a common laboratory to innovate. They decided to put all their research and development activities in the same place, in the same warehouse, in the same building. And this group of entities are entities running business in the textile sector. They work circularly because they cover all the steps of the productive chain of textile till the recovery of the waste of the use of the textile product by people, by consumers. So they reuse also part of the materials. So they decided to to share the research and development activities before Magno Lab in north of Italy, because they decided to collaborate, innovate together in the light of circularity. Why? Because it's fundamental for all the firms, all the businesses of the textile sector to have to reduce the cost connected to the risk of innovation useless. Sometimes, or often, it depends, people try to innovate their business, but they have a specific kind of client. They may know the needs of the client and the client of the client and so on. But they are not sure about the real needs of the client, of the client of the clients, and so on. And so it's fundamental for these entities to know what the others participants in the circle need, to focus on what is useful for all the participants. Magno Lab is an experience based on this concept, and so they make research and development activities together, deciding together what is the best solution to avoid the risk to make research and development activities useless. So to reach this result, and they exchange knowledge, they discuss together all the issues they meet during their research and development activities. They synthesize at the end what is useful for everybody, and they try to implement together. So they make prototypes together, and they make all the attempt and they verify the real utility of everything together. To reach this result, from the legal point of view, they decided to use a legal tool that in Italy is rete di imprese, so is a net of firms. This is something similar to a contractual joint venture. This is the legal form of their cooperation. But from a legal point of view, they could choose also a common a company commonly participated, for example, such as an alternative. In that case, this new company could be also considered a startup. So this is an interesting project. It's performing quite well. They started the project 3 years ago, and I talked with the people, and they are very, very satisfied about the first result they reached during these 2-3 years. I hope that my brief presentation could be something interesting for you. Anyway, I'm here for questions if someone has questions.
Thank you, Professor Boggio. I believe the Q&A session could wait after our next speaker, in case there will be some, but thank you for the case. And I noted for myself how important it is to think of the way this circle network actually cooperate and how they engage into the competition then. Because if one fails, that drags out, kind of a domino effect, as you suggested. This is a nice thing to consider also in terms of well, I'm sure how much benefits it brings to the engaged parties, but also, the need to actually support everyone in the network, which is an interesting topic to be discovered and maybe talked and considered in our project further. But now I would like our good colleague Aris, with whom we've been for a long time also working on in our project. So Aris, I give you the floor. So enlighten us about the blockchain and IP.
Thank you. Thank
you.
you,
Bye-bye.
Christian. Thank you, Professor Berger. Thank you, Christian. And today I'm going to speak to you about a topic in which I'm very interested personally. It's actually my ongoing field of research, and it has to do with blockchains. So let me start by sharing the screen, of course. Okay. Now, I'm not aware of your background in blockchain technologies, but I'm going to do my best to highlight the IPR protection sustainability aspects of blockchain technologies. So let's start with some issues. Intellectual property rights and sustainable circular economy have some common issues concerning the needs in their essence. For instance, we have the issue of intellectual property theft, which costs businesses billions of dollars each year. We have the global losses from counterfeiting and piracy, which are expected to reach $4.2 trillion by 2025, according to Forbes. We have struggling supply chains that are struggling and are pushed to their limits, and this certainly is jeopardizing sustainability. As an example, someone would say that recycling and is left behind. The OECD declares that only 9% of the global plastic waste is being recycled. And this stresses the need for transparent and traceable solutions. So there's an emerging need in both the fields of IPR and sustainability for transparency, immutability, security, traceability, and transactions automation. A potential solution is brought by the blockchain technologies. As I told you, I'm not aware of your background in blockchain, so I'm going to try and do my best to give you some highlights of this technology. Technically speaking, blockchain is a public ledger, open and accessible to all, and a way to manage this ledger collectively over the internet. What this actually means is that we have a public ledger, which is called the blockchain, and we have transactional events, which is actually stored in the physical database, let's say, of the blockchain in the form of a hash chain, an interlinked blockchain, an interlinked chain of blocks that are brought and linked together. As soon as one link gets on the chain, it's practically impossible for it to be erased or altered without this being noticed by the community. And this is the major strength of blockchain. As soon as something gets in the blockchain, in contrast with the traditional databases, there's no efficient way to alter or change it. So, blockchain is a transparent structure. Since the contents of the ledger are open and available to everyone in the network. In every blockchain, there are two basic algorithmic mechanisms. First of all, the hashing mechanism, which is the mechanism that connects the links of the chain together. And secondly, the consensus mechanism, the mechanism that ensures that everyone is working on the same version of the chain every time. Let's start with some major points of the hashing mechanism. In every block that we add to the blockchain, there is a fingerprint containing the hash of the previous block. The fingerprint of each block contains also part of the fingerprint of the previous block. This process is done through a cryptographic hash function, and it has the result as a result of this process. No past links can be altered without the new block has to be altered, the new being altered as well. So the strength of the blockchain technology so far relies on the strength of the secure hashing algorithm. The most widespread cryptographic hash function is the SHA-2 algorithm, which is used in the blockchain of the Bitcoin as well. So how does it work? The secure hashing algorithm is actually a digestion algorithm. It takes as an input an arbitrary string and produces a string of 256-bit long outcomes. So, for instance, if we try to produce the secure hashing of the hello world string, we will get this as the outcome. The output is chaotic. This means that even the slightest change in the input string has as a result a totally different and uncorrelated output of the secure hashing algorithm. So let's try one more time by putting an exclamation mark after the hello world. We see that the hash of the new string is totally different than the previous one. And there is no way, by knowing these two, to get back to the initial string. So hashing is practically reversible. Now, this is one of my favorite slides because it demonstrates that if we knew that we had an original message of just 64 characters or 64 bytes, and we could attempt 1,000 tries per second in order to guess what the input was, then we would need, I like to keep this running, and these are years. We would need an immense amount of time to calculate all the possible combinations in the input, which is ranked 10 raised to the 18th power, which is actually trillions and trillions of times the age of our known universe. Of course, we would also find some conflicts in the input, but this doesn't alter the fact that the space of the result space of the hashing is vast. This is what safeguards the blockchain technology up to now. So let's move now to the consensus mechanism. Multiple copies of the blockchain may evolve over time due to network inefficiencies, latencies, even malicious behaviors from some nodes in the chain. The consensus in the chain, which means the fact that everyone works on the same copy and the one and only copy is valid each time, is safeguarded by a shared policy, which is built in every blockchain, and a majority rule. In the blockchain, we have a prevailing rule of the virtue of the majority that holds. Whatever the majority of the node thinks is right is actually being accepted as right. And what the minority thinks, we don't care. Minority gets rejected. Consensus relies on the mutual proving of something. Every node in a blockchain is autonomous, and this is a very big strength of the blockchain architecture because it allows for fully distributed systems to evolve. So, how can we tell right from wrong? How can we tell if something is correct and something is not? We need, when I say we, every node of the blockchain network has to be capable of doing some elementary mathematics in order to conclude, to prove, and agree on the correctness of the outcome each time. So let's dive a bit more in the proof of work principle. In the proof of work, there is proof of work is a competitive task. That's why it consumes so much power, and we have all these arguments about whether blockchain is efficient and is efficient enough to be adapted or not. So, in the proof of work consensus, there is a solver who solves a puzzle in order to prove that a certain project load has been paid. When he solves the puzzle, which means when he does the job, he can insert a link to the chain at a trivial cost. And there is also a verifier who can verify that the puzzle has been solved correctly at a cost of Z. It is quite expensive to solve the puzzle, and it's very cheap and easy to verify that the solution was right. So, let's see how a new link is inserted in a proof of work chain, and more specifically in the Bitcoin blockchain. A new transaction appeared on the network. Bob gives Mary 2 coins, which means that 2 coins have to be transferred from Bob's wallet to Mary's wallet. Is this transaction valid? Should it take place? Based on the data of the transaction, a puzzle is being created. The puzzle is being shared among the solvers, and they compete to solve the puzzle. The first one who solves the puzzle gets rewarded. What do we mean by solving a puzzle? We have the data of the transaction, and every node has the ability and the freedom to add 4 bytes in front of the data of the transaction. And after adding these 4 bytes, he recalculates the hashing of this data. The result has to be the solution of the puzzle presupposes that a hash starting with a given number of zeros has to be produced. The first solver who finds a hash by trying different combinations of the data with his nonce. The first solver who finds a hash starting with 5 zeros gets the reward. He can add the block in the chain, and he gets rewarded for this. And this is pretty much how new Bitcoins are created. So the solution of the puzzle cannot be denied. Potential deniers, or malicious attackers as they are known, are being gradually rejected by the community. The puzzle is not based on any prior knowledge. It depends only on the consumed computing power. So it's actually a very fair algorithm, which ensures that everyone has the same, equal amount of work has the same chances of getting rewarded, of solving the puzzle and getting rewarded. So, having said all this, let's see now how blockchain can actually serve IPR and circular economy. The challenge is that blockchain can address in IPR protection is counterfeiting and privacy. We have a difficulty in tracking the original ownership of an asset as well as the current ownership of an asset. We have dishonest claims and theft of intellectual assets, as we said in our first slide. And we have inefficient, slow, and costly legal processes. With blockchain, we can use blockchain to verify ownership. We can use blockchain to create immutable records of intellectual property ownership. We have timestamp records to ensure the originality of the initial creation as well as the current ownership status every time. We have smart contracts in the blockchain, which are in fact blocks in a blockchain. Smart contracts are blocks in a blockchain, which are actually executable programs. These blocks, these programs, automate the licensing agreements and royalty payments. Actually, the smart contracts can automate every action of every imaginable third party. And this is a very, very strong potential of the smart contracts. They can actually replace, and the visionaries are imagining smart contracts to be replacing laws and even constitutions themselves. Smart contracts reduce the disputes by enforcing predefined terms. The programs and the rules are predefined, so no one can argue or alter these terms at a later time. And of course, blockchain facilitates global access by providing a single and tamper-proof registry. As for real-world examples in IPR protection, we can demonstrate the Royal I/O, which uses blockchain for music rights management, the OpenSea.io, which is the largest repository of non-fungible tokens to verify ownership and ownership of digital work. And now, concerning sustainability, blockchain can help us to address a number of challenges, like the lack of transparency in the supply chains, the greenwashing, which is actually the fact that false claims about environmental responsibilities keep rising, and the difficulty in tracking the life cycle of products, especially in the circular and the recycling and reducing economy. So, blockchain provides sustainable solutions, transparency, since the immutable records of blockchain can enable us to track the supply chain from the beginning to the end, as we say, from the farm to the shelf of the supermarket. It supports circularity, and by keeping tracking of the recycling, reusing, and the waste reduction processes, and more R's as well in the circular economy. And as a practical example of blockchain in sustainability, we have the IBM Food Trust platform that tracks the food supply chains to ensure ethical sourcing. We have the Power Ledger, which facilitates peer-to-peer renewable energy trading. And we can demonstrate as well the Recycle Go, which empowers companies in waste collection and recycling. So, wrapping up, we have some opportunities support by bringing the opportunities of blockchains in IPR and sustainability is supported by bringing in an unparalleled clarity and robustness, both in IPR and in the sustainability sector. The blockchain technologies are being empowered by emerging technologies such as IoT for real-time event tracking, and brings in potential for neutral global adoption by governments and organizations, since the blockchain can be run at an international level by many entities. In fact, we need many entities to have a functioning blockchain. And the challenge is, first of all, we should address, and major huge efforts are being carried out towards this, to resolve blockchain's energy consumption issues, especially in the case of popular and open proof-of-work systems like Bitcoin. We have to resolve scalability issues to address the big data inflow, the big data inflow that comes with global IPR and sustainability protection data. We have to accelerate the regulation, and of course, there is an immense need for international standards and legal frameworks adoption. I hope I didn't tire you all that much. Wrapping up, blockchain has a significant potential both in IPR and sustainability, since it brings transparency, traceability, and automation, and resolves long-standing challenges. It requires collaboration, innovation, and R&D acceleration to fully realize its potential in both fields. Thank you all very much for having the patience to keep up with me.
Thank you, Aris. To be fair, it's been quite a lot of information to take from one side. Although you did a very good job on presenting and explaining how it works, it still requires a bit of a feeding into the topic to get what's happening in there. But as promised, let's have a short Q&A session. We were quite far behind our schedules. We started a bit late, and we've had.
Sorry for this.
No, it's not. We've had a lot of good presentation. I didn't, I wasn't mad enough to stop the speakers on the interesting topics for today. So if there is any kind of interest in what Aris just presented, go ahead, raise your hand, or you can just post a question in the chat. Yeah, Randvik.
So thank you, Aris. Just to add a little bit to your examples, there are already some tests being done with this following materials through the supply chain, because this is, like you say, a growing problem. What is the actual, where does it come from? One of the areas it's being tested in is in cobalt. That is often very unethically sourced, and it's difficult to follow it because it's a very uniform type of a product. Currently, one of the problems is that most of the cobalt mines in the world are owned by the Chinese. And what the Chinese seem to be doing in order to bypass the problem is that they first transport the unethically sourced material to an area where they are mining it ethically, and then it enters the supply chain there. This is difficult to deal with, and is a way to bypass the blockchain in some way. On the other hand, we have Icelandic fish. That is, so Icelandic cod is the most expensive cod in the world because of very good traceability and other aspects. And specifically because it's sustainable fish and kept very well organized. Recently, there have attempts to sell cod from other sources as Icelandic cod have been stopped because of related technologies, and is using blockchain in an even stronger way within the Icelandic fishery supply chain. So thank you. This is very, very interesting.
Thank you for your observation, Randvik. And of course, one of the major issues of blockchain, as you identified correctly, is how do we connect the physical objects, and how we make the digital thing to import to the blockchain. So for this, I think that blockchain in the near future will incorporate a strong, let's say, co-development with biomarkers as well as microsensors.
Yeah.
Because it's very crucial that we tag every, let's say, molecule of the cobalt or whatsoever. This can be done by biomarking technologies. So you're totally right on this. And
a legal protection that certain sensitive materials cannot be transported without having a blockchain trail could also be part of a solution. But when it's a government that is the culprit, that becomes difficult.
Yes,
Even
definitely.
then.
And that's one of the strengths of the blockchain. It can be run by entities that are not governmental, as well as from governmental entities as well. It's open, and who actually runs the blockchain can be or cannot be. It could be an international organization, it could be you, it could be me, it could be universities, it could be ministries of environment and whatsoever. WWF and environmental organizations, and everyone could be part of the blockchain. But the thing is that we need to bind the blockchain with the physical world, and this is an open field of research right now.
But I think it's really promising.
Thank you for the interesting insights. I think we're only for a very, very short question or comment, if there is one. I mean, just to wrap up your discussion, we can invest in so much technology, but when it comes to the human mind and human intervention, there will be a way to go around the light and do the things the fishy way. I mean, I think the whole history of humanity, way or another, is about that, how you can go around in the gray areas just to go around some corners. But anyhow, I do thank everyone for joining and listening to us today. Please stay tuned to our media, and soon, in a few, I believe in less than a month or just a bit more than that, we should be connected with our next webinar, which also we hope to invest your interest in that and actually rise to your expectations. So thank you, Aris. I thank all of our speakers who regretfully could not stay with us until the end, but thank you for organization, and thank you for listening to us. So stay with us and see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye bye. Thank you.